church in Pastor Charlie's toolbox. So I'm not actually locked out, okay? But today, I thought I'd talk about doors and how they work or don't work. In this case, it doesn't work because you have your door latch here that you would normally use, and this one isn't working, and it also, because it was an outside door at one time, it has a lock here, but that doesn't seem to be working either. Doors actually are just openings in walls where you put a little piece of wall in, and so you can get through. And one of the ways they work is with hinges. And we have hinges, well, we have half hinges on this side. The way hinges usually work is that they fold. It's a piece of metal that folds. So when it's shut, it's closed like this, and when it opens, they swing open. It's just two pieces of metal, and there's a pin that goes down the center of it. And that allows the door to swing open when you have a door that swings. So something like this would go on here, and it lets the door open up. Anyway, I have a question for you. Have you ever come across a closed door in your life? I'm not talking about an actual door, but a point in your life where you had some kind of a plan, but the plan just wasn't working out for you. So it was kind of like having a door closed and maybe even locked in your face. You want to go through, and you think you can get through, but you can't. And maybe it was a time where you couldn't see how you were ever going to go any further with your plans. What did you do about it? How did this whole incident make you feel? In our lesson today from Acts 16, verses 6 to 15, we find the Apostle Paul. And the Apostle Paul had made plans to travel into Asia. But in this case, he felt that God was blocking the trip. He doesn't say exactly how that was or what the Spirit wouldn't allow him to do, but he just felt he should not make the trip into Asia. So that had been his plan all along, but since his plans had now all gone up in smoke, what was he supposed to do? It was like a door had been closed and locked on him. That didn't totally stop Paul in his tracks, though, and neither should a figuratively locked door stop us. Instead, Paul began traveling in a different direction, not really sure where he was going, but just as a way to start off on a trip and wait and see what God had to say to him. And sure enough, one night he had a vision of a man from Macedonia begging him to go there and help him. And it was such a strong vision that the very next day, Paul and those with him, they set off, and they wound up in the city of Philippi, where he very successfully began a brand new congregation. So while his own plans had worked out, God had a better one for him. Now, I know that when our plans in life are foiled, we can kick and scream and maybe even break a few doors down, attempting to carry out our plans anyway. But too often, that just winds up in failure and broken doors. What we can do, though, is, like Paul, just stop. Maybe change direction and wait and see what God has in mind for us. Something to keep in mind then is that God's plans for us are not always our plans, But God's plans are always better than any plans we come up with on our own. It might mean putting aside our own desires and waiting patiently, but in the end, those closed doors can take us somewhere else, to a life that is a lot more fulfilling than we might ever